Over the time learning to be a GM, I've become a big proponent of DNDBeyond.com, and that's because it's a great tool with a lot of neat features. And today, on this Tools Day, I want to show you one of those features, the D&D Beyond Character Builder. Hey fellow Game Masters, I'm Richard Quiner, and welcome back to the Daily D20, your daily dose of all things tabletop role-playing games, helping you build your world and master your game. Yeah, I've redubbed the Tuesdays. Instead of Tooltip Tuesdays, they're going to be Tools Days because I like it. So today is Tools Day, and we're talking about the D&D Beyond Character Builder. Before we get to the computer screen and looking at how to build a character with D&D Beyond, I think it's important that every player knows how to build a character from scratch using books and pieces of paper and pencils. I just think that's a good process to learn. It's kind of like trying to run before you can even walk. I think everyone should learn how to pick up a book, read the book, see what's there, and then make a character using the information just in the book. I think that's an important skill to learn for DMs and players alike. But then after you've learned that skill, I think it's perfectly viable to go ahead and learn about these tools that D&D Beyond has to help make that process even easier. D&D Beyond takes the character creation process and automates a lot of the steps, so all you have to do is pick several different categories such as race and class and some ability scores, and it does all the rest for you. It's a really powerful tool. I really enjoy it. When I was at GaryCon the other week, I was able to make a character in about 10 minutes just because I needed to. I was going to play in a game and I needed a character for it, so I just threw one together right there online, and it worked out very well for that. So now let's make a character on D&D Beyond. So first, you're going to go to dndbeyond.com and log in. If you don't have an account for D&D Beyond, you probably have an account for Twitch, which means you have an account for D&D Beyond. And if you don't have an account for Twitch, you probably have an account for Amazon, which means you have an account for Twitch, which means you have an account for D&D Beyond. It's kind of a chain, it's a weird thing, but basically to log into D&D Beyond at this point in time, you need to log into your Twitch account and give that access to your Twitch credentials. It's not a good thing. They are actually working on changing it, they said, so in the near future you might be able to log in just with a username and password, but for now it's Twitch. Once you log on, up on top in the top bar there is a little word that says Creations. Hover your mouse over that and it will have a drop down menu that says My Character. And go ahead and click that and it will take you to a new screen. And there is a button there that says Create a Character. Go ahead and click on that. After you click on the Create a Character button, you're gonna see several different options. They have kind of a quick build, they have a pre-made kind of character thing, and then they have standard. I'm just gonna walk you through standard build, so go ahead and click on standard character builder. Before you get started into the character builder, I recommend you have a character concept that you want. Pick a race and a class at least, and ideally a background as well. With those, this will make the process a lot faster. If you're trying to read through all the races while you're building the character, it just takes more time, but all the information will be there for you. Now let's get back into this. The first page of the D&D Beyond Character Builder is called Home, and you want to make sure you set all these settings right the first time, because later on it will just be easier when you're making your character. So here is how I suggest you set this. Some of this stuff will depend on your dungeon master and their preference. First off, you're going to name your character whatever you want to name it, and if you hit the little plus sign in the little picture box next to it, you can make a custom thumbnail for your character. Down below you'll have sources. This section has all the different sources that are available on D&D Beyond, including official, homebrew, the Critical Role content, which basically is the Hexblade Warlock that Matt Mercer has made, and some playtest content, which is like the Artificer from Unearthed Arcana. Those things are all included on D&D Beyond, and if the toggle is red, those will be available to you in your character builder. The advancement option is how your character will level up. This depends on your DM and their playstyle, but sometimes they use milestones, sometimes they use experience. Milestone basically means your character will level up when you hit certain story point. Experience means they'll level up and you'll be tracking the experience you get as you go through the story on a number basis, and you'll level up in terms of experience. But like I said, ask your DM, they will know what type of experience system they're using in their own game. Next, you have the hit point options. This is also determined by your DM. Fixed means you will get a set amount each level based on your character's class. Manual means you will roll for your hit points each level and input that into the system to increase your max hit points as you level up depending on your class. Use prerequisites is another option, and I just leave both of these checked. It basically means your character will have to reach certain requirements in order to take certain feats or to multi-class, depending on the rules of D&D. If you have these turned red, the site will restrict you if you don't meet those requirements. But some DMs might not be as stringent on these, so ask your DM what they feel about prerequisites. Oftentimes they will go with the rules as written in the handbooks, but it's really up to your DM. Encumbrance deals with how much weight your character can carry during the game, and it actually tracks how much weight your character has on them in their equipment section. Ask your DM how they want to handle it. The ability score / modifier display changes how they are shown on your character sheet, and this is entirely your preference. Once you're done here, go ahead and click the arrow to the right that's going to show up when you hover over it, and it will take you to page 1, the race selection. When you're on this page, this will become a familiar sight to you. As you scroll down, you'll see all the races available to you. Now, as you can see on mine, I have a lot of races here and sub-races. You might not have that if you haven't bought any of the product on D&D Beyond. But if your DM has D&D Beyond and has things unlocked, they should be able to share some of this with you if they have the right subscription to the website. You want to scroll down the page until you find the race you want. Click that. It will open up a pop-up that tells you more information about the race, and then there will be a button that says Choose Race. When you do that, you have the race selected and you're good to go. If you have a sub race, when you click on the main race, it will have a drop down that shows you several of the sub races, but then you do the same process, click on the sub race, then click on the choose race button, and you're set. On this page, if you aren't sure about races, this will also tell you all the information about all the different races you want just by clicking on them. You click on it, you can scroll through the pop-up and read more about the race. After you pick the race, it will show you some more options on this window. Anything that is circled in blue means that is an option that you have to make a choice with. It could be a ability score. For in terms of Dragonborn, this could be a draconic heritage or a color. It will give you something, it will give you like a blue ring around it and a little plus sign. Click on that, make your selection, and then you're good to go by clicking on the arrow on the right. Page number 2 is the class, and this looks exactly the same as the race page. You click on the class that you want, read up a little about it, and then click choose class. Any options that show up with a blue circle around them or a blue outline around them are things that you need to make a choice about, so go ahead and make those decisions and you have your class selected. The next page after picking your class is the ability scores. Now, when you do ability scores, there are 3 main methods, and in a previous video I explained 2 of these methods. I explained the array method and I explained the manual entry kind of standard method. This website, if you decide to pick the array method or the point buy method, which I haven't explained, but it's essentially for every point of ability score there's a cost and you have a set amount of points you can use to buy ability scores. That's the quick explanation of it. But when you pick either one of those, the site kind of walks you through the process, so it's very simple. When you pick point buy, it gives you options and you can expend your points on buying ability scores. If you choose an array system, you can just pick which numbers you want for each ability score. If you pick the manual option, that is when you are rolling dice. If you will roll your 4d6s, remove the lower of the 4 numbers, and then write that down. And then on here, you'll input that score for each ability score that you want. It's important that you remember on this top box, you will not include your racial bonuses or any other bonuses to that ability score that you'll get. You're only going to enter the numbers that you roll on the dice. Once you enter the numbers you've rolled on the dice here in these boxes, the site itself will take that, add your racial modifiers, and then generate your ability scores and your ability score modifiers depending on your class and your race. This is probably the coolest feature of D&D Beyond because it takes a lot of the math out of doing your ability scores and figuring that out for yourself. Do that and then you're able to move on to your description. Now, page 4, the description is where you add your character's background and any other options or details about your appearance or traits that you might want. The first thing, of course, though, is to pick your character's background. They have a list here. Just pick your character background that you may have thought of earlier. As I suggested, you should have come into this with some idea of what you wanted to do, and it will fill in all the options for you. And again, if you need to make a decision, it will have a blue outline around that trait. The rest of the stuff you can fill out as you need. You don't need to fill this out up front, but I do suggest, or I highly recommend, I would say, that you go to your personality traits, where you have your trait, your ideal, your flaw, and your bond, and you pick one of each of those. This will not really help you in combat situations if you're doing this quick just for a dungeon crawl, but it will help you define the character and make something a little more tangible with personality-wise than you might have otherwise. Once you're done with that, you're free to go on to page 5, which is the equipment and the last page of building your characters. Now, on the equipment page, you have two options. You have gold and starting equipment. On this point, you should ask your DM what they prefer. If they want you to start with the starting equipment as laid out in the player handbook, which I recommend everyone do because it's the easiest and fastest and it's not complicated at all, you will pick the starting equipment option and then it will give you more options. As I mentioned in explaining about starting equipment for the character builder segment I did, it will give you options A and B for different equipment sets. You're going to just click on option A or B, whichever one you want, and then at the end of it, just click add starting equipment, and then you have that starting equipment on your character. If your DM decides to go with gold, that means you will get a set amount of starting gold, and then you'll have to buy each of your items that you want. That's why I don't like this. I don't like math. It doesn't work for me, but here's how this works anyways. Once you click on the gold option, it will tell you what amount of dice you need to roll on your own. Then after you roll those dice, you use this drop down to pick the number that you rolled. It will do the math for you and give you the starting gold. Hit the add gold button down here, and then it will add it to your currency. Next, you're going to go down to add items, and you're going to look through all the equipment that is available to you, and you begin to, quote, purchase your items. Now, the system, when I was doing this, it didn't automatically subtract the items from my gold currency stash, but you can easily just look at the item, write down how much it's worth, and then at the end go to your currency and subtract that amount from your total gold. This is why I don't like it. It's a little more complicated, but it does let you do a more custom, equipment build than other people might do, or than I normally would do. I like to go with the starting equipment because it's easy, and then I still get a little bit of gold to use in the game. It's really important on this page that if you are wielding or wearing items such as weapons or armor, you want to go to that item in your inventory section and click the wield or wear button, and then the website will update the stats on your character sheet to incorporate those changes, and it will give you the information about your weapons as long as you've hit the wield button. It will give you your armor class as long as you've hit the wear button. Once you do that, you go ahead and click the arrow on the right to go on to what's next, which basically this means you can now view your character sheet online in the web interface, which is really useful if you're playing and you can have your laptop open or a tablet. You can look at your character sheet online and make changes here in the interface, or you can export the character sheet as a PDF and print it out if you have access to a printer. Now that I've shown you how to build a character in D&D Beyond pretty quickly, go ahead and do this for yourself. And like I said, you won't have all the options. If you're new to D&D Beyond, you'll really only have the basic rules to go on, but that shouldn't stop you from learning the tool and making a character here on D&D Beyond. Then let me know in the comments below what character you made. I think there's a way to give a link, and if you can find a link to share your character, go ahead and share that with me as well in the comments. If you've liked this video, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon next to the subscribe button so you get notified when I upload new videos every day. And of course, fellow Game Masters, I've been Richard Quiner. Thank you for watching.